Do, 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 do. Let's try this again. Had a little audio technical difficulty. As anybody knows, if you're in audio, you're in video, you're in anything to do with technology, anything to do with instrumentation, chords, you may have everything just locked up as well as you possibly can. So if we start breaking up or anything else, just kind of let us know. But I'm glad you're here at New Day Revival. Doing a little special daily podcast right here with something that I wanted to go over with some things with you. Why I'm not voting for Trump. I know that there's going to be some people that's in the some of my friends and family going, "Oh man, I don't know if I like what I'm hearing. Why you're not voting for Trump?" Well, let's talk about that because in this climate, you cannot, you barely can say anything if you've got the if you have the T word, and I believe that mankind in this era here in America and some in the world have truly, honestly created a psychological illness called TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. And you'll have some on the right side that will have Biden derangement syndrome. They just they don't like the direction, but nothing like you'd see the Trump. It's I was listening to a comedian. He said you could walk out to your day, and if you've got the Trump hat on, man, you could be nice as everything can be, and the Trump hat speaks. You can say, "Hey, how's your day going?" But the Trump hat's saying, I'm going to come against you. I'm going to rah, rah. And that they believe that there's so much vitriol and anger on our side, but there's not. You can go, if you challenge yourself, and if you don't want to believe it, you can go and watch. There's countless of people that say, I went to a Trump rally, and I walked in. I was accepted through that. It was the nicest. I didn't worry about anything. The people were just as nice as they could be. And they went over to a Biden Harris rally, and it was completely different. And so, but I wanted to talk to you about why I'm not voting for Trump. And this is going to be a good, I think it would be a good argument. So you might have some people that's in your family. You may have some friends in your family, neighbors. You may have a coworker, and they are just adamant about why you're voting for Trump. They're angry at you. So here's the way you can do this. Okay, let me tell you why and what you can tell them. You said this election is it's not like I'm going to be choosing. I'm not choosing a person. I'm choosing someone who's going to do something for our country. And regardless if you like it or not, we are not on the track that we used to be on. Let me show you just something here. Let me go see if I can pull it up. Pull it up. Look here. Now, this is just a little bit on the food cost. All right. January 2020, orange juice was $2.99. January 24th, it's $4.29, a 43.48% increase. Let's drop on down here to ground beef. Everybody say ground beef. That's what you call a cow. It has no legs. Ground beef. Coffee. Oh, beloved coffee. $6.99 in January 2020. 2024, $8.99. Chicken breast, $4.99. It's up to $7.99. Let's come on down here to we don't like iceberg lettuce. Do you know iceberg lettuce is the dirtiest of all lettuce? It's really not a good lettuce. If you want a good healthy lettuce, you go to a romaine lettuce or a good spring mix. What they call it, rugula. Is that how you pronounce it? Something rugula, but just a darker green. It's much more healthier than iceberg. Well, I don't know why I've chased that rabbit down. I like butter. Oh, I love me some butter. $3.99 in January 20 for a 1 pound thing of butter, and it's $5.49. So regardless of what you're hearing, and I was listening to the candidates, and it amazes me that someone was on the street. They asked about the economy. Said, "Oh, the economy is doing great." Well, if it's doing so great, look at everybody else's pocketbook, and they will tell you right then how great how great the economy is, because that's where you get your answers when it comes to the pocketbook. You're going to get your answers when it comes to that, because they're going to tell you. Because I know that my son, he works for an HVAC company, and he got a significant raise, and I was glad to hear about that. But then when I calculated what the economy is doing and the inflation, and it's his money's not going as far as now under the Trump administration, it did go as far. But here's what I want to talk to you about. All right, this is why what represents the future has a proven clear, and he's there would be a it would be hard to argue with some people when they say, well, if he comes, he's going to got to do this and he's going to do that. But see, he was already in office. They say he's going to take over the military and be a dictator. I hate when I hear people say that. It's just, it is absolutely, it's mind boggling. For me, I wish, now I'm not going to go against the freedom of the press, because that's part of our First Amendment. And those first two amendments, the First Amendment, freedom of speech and freedom of press. Second Amendment, the freedom to bear arms against a tyrannical government, our Second Amendment. But I believe that if anyone gets on television as a news media, and most of the days all you have is pundits that they're not journalists, they don't seek anything, they seek an agenda. There was a chart that I saw, I was reading yesterday, and it was amazing, and it was very long. I didn't want to try to do it here on this program. It take quite a bit to do it, but it went step by step about everything and every person that is in significant power who's in the Democratic Party, who they're connected with. And that 80% of those people are connected with George Soros. George Soros is a foreigner who hates he hates capitalism. He wants socialism. And he has funded so many of the district attorneys all around the nation. The district attorney, Lakeitha James from New York, Jack Smith, you name them, you're going to see his fingerprint all over it. And there was a time that if anyone was associated with foreigners who were trying to come in to our country to do something, they was considered treasonous, and we dealt with it. We dealt with it very swiftly. Now we don't do that. So let's go into this here. So if somebody asked you and said, why are you voting for Trump? And you say, well, I am not voting for Trump. And so, well, who are you voting for? I said, well, I'm not going to vote for Trump, but what I am going to vote for is I am going to vote for someone. I'm voting for the First Amendment. I'm not voting for a person. I'm voting for the First Amendment, and I'm voting for the freedom of speech. I have traveled in countries where they don't have the freedom of speech. I watched a woman one time. There was some men that was out in their front yard, and they were doing something that would be considered. We have laws against that and procedures against that here in the United States. And she came up to them on camera and said, "You can't be doing that." And he said, "I'll do what I want." She said, "I got you on camera." She said, he told her, he said, "You think this is America?" And the last thing you see is her camera it goes off somewhere and it's flipped around. So I don't know what he did to that person, but when you go to another country, you realize just how wonderful that you have it here. I remember the very first time that I left America and I traveled, other than Tijuana, I went down to Panama. Went into the country. The country of Panama was really nice. The people were just wonderful down there. But we lived, we drove a couple of hours outside of the main city of Panama, going into a town. There was one town we call Colon. It's in the middle, from the east, from the Pacific to the Atlantic Ocean, right in the center, right there where all the boats travel, the Panama Canal. They go through, and there's a town called Colon. Colon is a place where you have. It's duty free, tax free, and I mean, hardly anything is illegal. It was just a nasty place. If it wasn't for the rain that would just come there and wash things over, you saw people doing things on the streets and stuff. But I've been into places in poverty where areas where you walk in and you go, there's a grocery store and there's two guys standing out with AK-47s guarding the place. Because people they have to guard a place. Every home had razor wire or had glass embedded into the concrete on these concrete walls, and they had bars on their windows, bars on their doors. And I know we got places in America that are like that, but we're talking about just everywhere you go, and you don't have freedom of speech. You don't have freedom of protest and walk up and say, I protest this. This is not right. This is not part of our Constitution. They don't have that. Canada, look what's happened to Canada. The Canadian people are wonderful, but their government has been taken over by these left-wing ideologues, still connected to that George Soros and still connected because there's a deep demonic move. There is a power that is behind this movement. Of course, those that are believers and who understand what that power is. But we have got to realize that we live in I wrote a song called Liberty, and I said, there's no other place in this old world that I'd rather be. Just think about it. You were those that are listening, if you're here in Dodge City or you're here in Coleman or you're here in the state of Alabama, or if you're outside the state of Alabama and Tennessee and Florida and and Georgia and a lot of the places and the people that listen to our program in the Southeast and beyond. We got people that are listening to it in Australia. Yeah, we say hello, Deidre. Hello, give your husband smacker, and then after you smack them down, pick them up and take them and get them smacker. She'll know what I'm talking about. If you want to take somebody to McDonald's in Australia, you just say, "Hey, bugger, let's go to Micah, get us a burger." So, but we got people that are watching, and there's a lot of places that you could have been born at, but you were born here, and the freedom that you have, and what God has given you, you don't take it for granted, because Ronald Reagan said we are one generation away from losing what we have in America. And it used to be you'd hear that and go, no, there'd be a lot of fighting. But you think about it now, we are one vote, we are one generation. And we're in that time now that the possibility that the people that want to take us where they want to go is not the American value, not the American system. And it is not what's going to make it. And here's the reason. Look at where we are versus where we could be. And the choice is clear. So when they say that, you say, no, I'm not voting for Trump. I'm voting for the First Amendment and freedom of speech. I'm not voting for Trump, but I'm voting for the right to speak my opinion and not be censored. Listen, before I came on here, I was doing a little bit of research, and I was typing in Google. I was asked Google a question about the sites and comparisons between 2020 and 2024. Man, I was going down page after page after page on Google, and I couldn't find it. I knew what I was looking for, and I knew that it was on there. But the closer we've got to this election, now they're embedding it and hiding that information. And if you don't believe it, I'm sorry, you just got your blinders on. You need to take them off and see it. And it was not even there. But the fact that I can be able to have my opinion and not be censored. You may not like what somebody speaks. I may not like what they speak, but I'm going to defend their right to say it, because that is. And I remember being down in Florida one time. There was a gentleman. He was okay, but he was an old gnarly Marine that had kind of lost his way and just got gnarly in his old age. And he was going to come across on that fence on me, and you could see that anger. And I just sit there quiet, and he was about, I'd say he was maybe 8 or 9 inches away from me. And I said, listen, your freedom stops at the end of my nose. Do whatever you want, say whatever you want, but your freedom stops at the end of my nose and stops at my property line. The moment you touch that, you lose your freedom to do that, because what I'm going to do is, I'm sorry, you're not going to hurt my family. You're not going to hurt my property. You're not going to hurt me. I'm going to defend myself. And when I told him after a couple, I said, yeah, I'm serious. Your freedom's going to stop at the end of my nose. And he backed away. He understood. And these are things that are important. I'm not voting for Trump, but I'm voting for the right to. Oh, I've already said that. I'm not voting for Trump, but I'm voting for the secure borders and legal immigration. Legal immigration. I don't mind immigration, because all of us, even you, and my grandmother was full-blooded Cherokee Indian. Okay. So it's in me. I have it. Part of the Achoti tribe, part of the deer and wolf clan. It's in my blood, man. Oh, it's in my blood. Okay. But we're all immigrants on this property. What some would call the Indians and some call the Native Americans, you didn't exist here. You came across a land bridge across Africa thousands of years ago. You came across here. So all of us are immigrants, but we have to have laws embedded in our society. A society that doesn't have laws is going to be, it's not going to be a society. It's going to be, that's not a banana republic, what I'm looking for. That's about what we're wanting to turn into right now, the way things are going. I mean, you think about it. We had a president that was voted in, rightfully, well, whether you want to vote about how it happened, but he was a president. Biden, still the president, gathered all the votes, and he did not give those votes up to Kamala Harris, uh, uh, but they removed him. I was shocked that I'm living at this time where they removed a sitting president, and he did not want to go, and they made him. It was, and it, lack of a better word, it was a coup. It was a coup. But if we don't have laws established and follow those laws in our country, we will become a lawless society. And I don't think anybody wants to live in a lawless society at all. So I'm not voting for Trump, but I am voting for election integrity to include mandatory ID. Why? You can't buy alcohol. You can't buy cigarettes. You can't get on a plane. You can't get your driver's. You can't go in and get your. Can't buy a car. There is so many things in your life that you have to have an ID for. But yet we say, oh, we don't want to vote. One of the most important things: who's going to be our leader? Because people who are leading, where righteousness is part of leadership, it exalts a nation. But where sin is in that leadership, it is reproach to them. And it's vitally important that we know who our leaders are and who we put up as leaders. Now, sometimes God will, or most of the time, God's going to put exactly who he wants, because he's going to use that administration, that leadership. He's going to use that person or persons, or he's going to use a nation to judge another nation. If you don't believe that, read the Bible. You're going to find out how he did that multiple times to get repentance into the hearts of the people. I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I'm voting for the Second Amendment and the right to defend my life and my family. You know, it's a shame that we have laws that that you now have to have companies that will back you up, lawyers that will back you up. USCCA, I think that's what it's called. It's a very great program that will concealed carry. And if you was to get into a problem, that if someone breaks into your house and they mean to do you bodily harm in some places and you shoot them, you could be arrested for shooting them. Where have we gone to? But I'm voting for the Second Amendment because, and if you read it, for those few things, well, we're not supposed to have these assault rifles. That's what AR-15 stands for, assault rifle. No, it doesn't. You look at what it really stands for. And it's funny. I've got a little 38 snub nose hammerless revolver I carry around, easy to put in the pocket, and it's got a pink handle because my wife, when she carried, she said, "I've got to have a pink handle if I'm gonna carry it," and so I call him Mr. Pinky, and I keep him with me because I'd rather be judged by 12 people of my peer in court than to be carried by 6 men into the grave. My family is important to me. My freedom is important to me. If somebody wants to do something nefarious, I love them. I don't want anything like that to ever happen. But the fact that we have to stand, and when you read the Second Amendment, it's to have that because of a government that could become tyrannical and it would start taking away your rights. And I'm going to tell you what, well, let's just move on so I can get this thing going. So get it going, Tim. I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I'm voting for the policies to be respected once again, to the police to be respected once again, regardless of how you fall. If you just settle yourself down, you Harris and Waltz supporters, settle yourself down there and listen to this. Kamala Harris stood behind the defunding of the police station that was looted, that was burned, and officers that were wounded. She stood behind the looters, said, let them loot. It is they need to do that because, this is how they're going to express themselves. And I challenge you to go you can find it. It's easy to find the video of what she said out of her own mouth. This administration wants to they want to defund the police. I want us to stand and respect our law enforcement officers, because they do the ministry. It is a ministry, because not everyone can be an officer of the law, but somebody who has a heart's desire that's out there that wants to. Remember, I was telling you about that man who tried to come against my fence. He was a Clay County sheriff, a deputy sheriff in Florida. Maybe I gave it away, but he was a dingleberry. I mean, serious dingleberry. And if you have dingleberry behavior, you're going to have dingleberry behavior on a lot of the things, whatever you do. Dingleberry behavior here, you're going to be dingleberry behavior there. And somebody said, "What's dingleberry behavior, Mama?" Explain to them what that behavior is. But for the most part, they have a desire to want to make sure that they keep the freedoms that we have and make sure that the public can go around. We have I remember I was watching a video of a guy just a couple of months ago, and he came up to a place here. It was actually in Alabama. It was an outside of Walmart right there at Murphy's, and you could see they had those in racks and open racks that if you go to a Murphy's, you'll see they'll have the oil thing that's opened up. They have the water, they'll have snacks, they have chips. So you just reach. I mean, it's right there within hand's reach, and then you get it and you go up to the counter, and nobody worries about anything being taken. I know we have some people around here that would steal your face off if they could, but it's really a safe place to be. He had in his camera. He said, "I'll tell you what, this would not happen where I come from up north." He said, "They have to lock this stuff up because people don't care." He said, "Being down here with you white folks, I'm going to tell you what, y'all don't have to worry about too much right here." And it wasn't that it was black or white. It was the fact that we respect and we love our place. I'm voting for someone who is going to put our police in a position to be respected again. I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I'm voting for law and order and to end allowing protesters to trespass, burn our cities, destroy innocent small businesses. I remember watching a reporter from, I don't know if it was CNN or if it was MSNBC. He had his microphone. Oh my gosh, this is funny. He was sitting there, and this is blah 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 reporting here on this what was it called? This season of love, and the majority of these are really peaceful protesters, and they're protesting a good cause. And behind behind him, there was a business that was up in flames, and people were gathering around. They were throwing sticks and stones all in it, and they were screaming. I couldn't believe it. Just turn around and look and realize that what you're saying is foolish. You're saying it's a peaceful protest and they're destroying property. So I'm voting for someone who's going to come in and not allow these protesters to do what they're doing, to shut it down. And it was in Minnesota. Tim Waltz's and his own wife said, I remember when it was happening to the riots and seeing the freedom of the people gathering up. I opened the window and smelled the burning tires, and it smelled like freedom. She's a very delusional woman. How about that? Was that good, Mama? I caught myself. I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I am voting for a personal responsibility to end the revolving door where criminals are being put back on the street, where there's no bail, and they just let them back on the streets. These are the DAs. Remember, that was supported by. Now, let me stop and say this. Now, how would George Soros his money and getting the people to do what they're doing? There's a book that Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, in their forewords in their books that they wrote, that they said they appreciate this man, and they dedicated the book to him. Who was it? It's Saul Alinsky. In Saul Alinsky's writings for Rules for Radicals, he said one of the things that must take place is creating chaos. How do you create chaos? You don't punish anybody who does the crimes, and they go, "Oh, I'll just keep doing the crimes." And you don't stop them. I'm looking for someone who's going to do that. You think Kamala Harris or Tim Walz is going to do it? No. And how can I say no? It's because they have the proven record that they did it. They did it while they were in power. And do you think that they're going to change that policy? No. I'm voting for someone, not Donald Trump, but I'm voting for someone for the next Supreme Court justice to protect the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I'm voting for the return of our troops from foreign countries and to end America's involvement in foreign conflicts. Like it or not, all the other presidents, all the way starting from Lyndon Johnson, all the way up to Nixon, You take Nixon, you got Ford. You take Ford, you got I can't believe. Don't you forget your presidents, boy. Um, you have Ronald Reagan. You can have Jimmy Carter. I don't know why I did Jimmy Stewart. No, but Jimmy Carter. And then you have Ronald Reagan. All these presidents, all the way up, Barack Obama, all through the Bushes, Barack Obama, and then Bush. I mean, not Bush, but Biden. All of them had wars. The only president in that swath of time that didn't was Donald Trump, because he's and the reporter asked him, "Why you say that you're going to do what you want to do with Russia?" Or he said, I don't want one person to win over here. I just want killing to stop. I don't want no more killing." That's what I'm voting for. I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I'm voting for the Electoral College and the republic in which we live. We are not, whenever I hear these people say, defended democracy 2024, or you even have it on Fox News and they'll headline democracy. Stop. We are not a democracy. We were never intended to be a democracy. If we started out as a democracy, we would not be a country today, but we are representative republics where the states hold power to themselves and they are joined together, united with other states. We are a republic of states together, not a democracy. I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I'm voting for the continued appointment of federal judges who respect the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I'm voting to keep our jobs to remain in America and not be outsourced all over the world to China, to Mexico, and other foreign countries. And Barack Obama, the Bushes, they didn't do it, but Trump did. Trump said, if you want to take your business out of America, then I'm going to tear up your hiney so much, not tear up. That did sound like a little, that sounded like, well, I'm going to tear up your hiney. But I'm going to tariff you so high that you're not going to be able to sell your products. So either you stay in America and do a business in America, and if you want to do business with America, you're going to do business right, or we're going to tariff you. And everybody says that you can't do all that because that destroys the relationship with other countries. Let me say this: I care about people in other countries, but I care about America first. If you get to the place where you don't care about your citizens first, you care about other countries, then you don't need to be part of this great country. You don't need to be called American. They say that this American exceptionalism, or the thing that is called America, what is it? This American standard, this American exceptionalism. There's nothing. Barack Obama, when he got into office, his first year, he said, "There's no such thing as American exceptionalism. There's European exceptionalism. There's Australian exceptionalism. Everybody has their own exceptionalism, and we don't want to put one for another." Yes, we do. We put our country first because this is what we fought for. We fought for this country. Our descendants fought King George. Our descendants fought the Blue Coats. Our descendants, they fought to have a right and freedom to live free, because they realized this, that freedom did not come from a government entity. And remember this government is, they talk about, well, the government's going to give us money back. It ain't the government's money. The government is not a business. The government is managing the money that we send them or that they take from us. This is our country. And if you can't get yourself together and say, you know what, I want to be part, I'm an American. And to be an American that's a title. Let me tell you, if you've never traveled out of the country, here's what here, and this is, I would say 90% of the time, whenever I went to multiple different countries, whenever they found that you were an American, you know what the very first thing that they did? They thought you were wealthy. They would come up and they would talk about oh, he's an American, and it was like, this guy's got money. You don't realize I don't have a lot of money, but when I look at how they live, and I look at the country that they have, and I look at what they have to exist in, and then I come back and see what I've got, yeah, I'm wealthy. Yes, I've got a lot to be thankful for. So I'm not putting no one down, but if you were born here, you have a right to do incredible things. No one can hold you back. If you walk right, if you talk right, you follow the laws and you work, you can be a success. You've got ideas and you can become a millionaire if you need to, if it happens. Um, but you've got the freedom to do so, to walk out and have your own property and somebody and not have to worry about somebody coming in. Oh, we want your property. We're going to take it, regardless of how you like it or not. It is amazing. It is amazing to see what you see, and then you come back. I remember coming back the very first time when I was flying back into Miami, and you know what? One of the first things that come across my mind is as we were approaching landing, and I started seeing the streets. I went, "Wow, look how clean our streets are. Look how clean I mean, there's places people just, and we got some dingleberries around here that will throw their trash bag out. But for the most part, we take care of our place. Why? Because we love it, because it's part of that exceptionalism. It's part of this is my country. I respect it and I want it to be the best. That's what I'm voting for. I'm voting. I'm not voting for Trump, but I'm voting to keep our jobs to remain in America. Oh, by the way, when Trump told him he was going to do this, he said, I think it was Ford was getting ready to build a plant in America, in Mexico when he was there. He said, "Okay, go ahead and build it." He said, "But I'm going to put an 80% tariff on it." It was big, and he said, "If you don't believe me, try me." And so they changed their mind and built the plant here. John Deere tractor was going to do the same thing. They're building it here. Why? Because if you go there and they know he's not playing. Why? Because he's got the proven record. He was there. He was in office for 4 years and he made it happen, regardless of what you hear on news. And they're grasping at straws. But we're not voting for Donald Trump. We're voting for someone who will do these things here. I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I'm voting for doing away with all the freebies that are given to the illegals and not looking after the needs of the American citizens and the homeless veterans. In New York, there are hotels, I mean, really nice 3, 4, 5-star hotels that were just taken up, and the money was paid by the federal government to house people who came here illegal, and our own citizens, veterans who fought, who gave themselves up to either fight in the war, or anybody that's in the military. What they're doing, they're saying, all right, I'm joining the military. I'm going to go through the training and I'm going to be ready. If I'm going to be sent, that I'm going to fight for the right for America. I'm going to lay my life down. Whether you went into battle or not in battle, when you choose to do that, that's great. That's wonderful. That's hero status, because not many people that want to do that. And to step up and to have all of that happen, to step over our own citizens and put the illegals into these places and spend that money. I'm voting for someone who's going to put an end to that. It just so happens that the only one that's there that's going to step up and say I'm doing it is Donald Trump. I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I'm voting for the military and the veterans who fought in this country. I'm also voting to keep men out of women's sports. I don't even want to go get started there. I'll be there way too long, and we're getting ready to close this thing out. I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I'm voting for peace, progress in the Middle East. I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I'm voting to fight against human child trafficking. That movie, The Sound of Freedom, with oh my gosh, I can't believe I just forgot his name. Henry Jim Caviezel. He played on The Passion of Christ. He also played on one of my favorite movies, The Count of Monte Cristo. Oh, it's a wonderful movie. But he made a movie on this human trafficking and the people that were behind that, and the media castigated him, and many of them wouldn't even get behind it. Why? Because it was going to expose some of the people that they're connected with. But I'm voting for someone who's going to fight against human and child trafficking. I'm not voting for Donald Freedom. I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I'm voting for freedom of religion, because already I've watched it twice, not in Canada, not in Mexico, not in Germany, not in France, not in Britain. And I'm going to tell you what, England, the Brits, you guys got to get your pants together, and you need to stand up and fight, because you are close to losing. I don't know if you can be able to bounce back. I really don't. But it's not in those countries. But I watched in our very own country a man standing across the street. You had an LGBT rally that's going on. He's standing on the other side of the street holding a Bible and praying for them and trying to witness to anybody that will walk by that was wrong. He was arrested in our own country. But the Bible said that we could look for that. It would be signs. I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I'm voting for the freedom of religion. I said that. I'm voting for the return of teaching math, history, science, instead of indoctrinating our children. I'm going to tell you what, the demons of hell, the gods of the Canaanites, and they are here. They're wanting to get in. How do you do it? You get into the heads of the children. You change the children's minds. You indoctrinate them. You get them confused. I'm looking for someone who will teach. We need the reading, writing, arithmetic, and science, social study. I mean, not social study, civics, plain civics. How does our government supposed to work? It's not taught anymore. And now you've got people that are coming out of grade school, graduating high school, and can't even do fifth grade math, and barely can do fifth grade reading. I'm looking for someone who will change that. I'm not voting for just one person. I'm voting for the future of my country. I'm voting for my children and my grandchildren to ensure their freedoms. America is the greatest country in this world. And why anyone wants to immigrate here, this is why they want to come here. How many times have you ever thought, oh, tell you what, I think I'll just leave here and go to Japan or go to China. I think I'll go over and be a part of Jing Chu's or Jing Chu's. I forget his name. It was just the first thing that came to my head. Bing Shung Dao or Tiny Pony or Hu Fang Pu. I don't know. But this not many times you ever hear anybody say, I'm just tired of this place. I'm I'm going to move to the heartland of Uganda. I'm going to go into the bushes of South America. I'm going to go up in the hills of Argentina. They just don't do it. But most people want to come here to America. Why? Because they know they got a freedom to be able to live and do and prosper. I'm voting because it is the greatest country in the world. And so why do you want to change it? Why do you want to take it down to a path to places in other countries? Why do politicians want to enact policies that have failed in other countries throughout history? No, I'm not voting for Trump, but I am voting for America. I am voting for us, and I'm voting for our children. So today, take note. I'll try to post this on some of these things on here. I'll drop it into the comment sections on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, and you can be able to read that. So God bless you. May the Lord keep you, make his face to shine upon you. PT loves you. Out, my friend.